If love is meant to be timeless, why are we still afraid of age gaps? This isn't just a question, it's an unspoken echo in the hearts of many who have dared to love outside the lines. We often say, age is just a number. But when you're in love with someone 10, 15, or even 20 years older or younger, can your heart truly silence the voice of society? Can love grow freely, while the world keeps whispering? Age gap love isn't always like the stories we romanticize. It comes with stares that linger too long, assumptions that cut too deep, and quiet questions even we ask ourselves. Am I truly in love, or am I looking for healing? Is this real, or just a momentary comfort wrapped in affection? Yet sometimes, there is a gaze that sees through you in ways no one your age ever did. There is a presence that calms you, not because it's perfect, but because it's grounded. And there is a love that doesn't care about birthdays, but cares deeply about your soul. Today on Shining Mirror-LVB, we're not here to justify love across generations. We're here to understand what happens when love transcends time, convention, and fear. Because maybe, just maybe, when two souls meet at the right depth, age becomes background noise, and connection becomes everything. Age is just a number, maturity is a choice. It sounds simple, but to truly live by that truth, you have to unlearn everything society taught you. We grow up believing that age equals wisdom, that with more years comes more emotional depth. But in reality, some of the most insightful souls are found in young hearts who've already faced grief, betrayal, heartbreak, and still chose to stay open. Maturity doesn't arrive with birthday candles. It arrives quietly, in the nights you cried alone and still showed up the next day with kindness. It reveals itself in how someone handles silence, disagreement, and vulnerability. That's why age gap relationships shouldn't be judged by how they look from the outside, but how they feel on the inside. There are young partners who offer emotional leadership, tender, empathetic, grounded, and there are older ones who carry unhealed wounds, hiding behind age but not wisdom. The point isn't who's older or younger. It's, do they see each other for who they truly are? Do they hold space for one another's spirit? Do they love from presence, not performance? In a world that confuses loudness with strength, finding someone who brings you peace is rare. So when you find it, honor it, because real maturity isn't about how long you've lived, it's about how deeply you've chosen to love. When two people come from different seasons of life, differences aren't just possible, they're inevitable. One may be dreaming of backpacking through Europe. The other may be thinking about early retirement and morning tea in a quiet garden. One craves adventure, the other values peace. One is dreaming of raising children, the other may have already done so. So the real question isn't, are we too different? It's, can we meet each other where we are? Love doesn't require perfect alignment. It only asks for two hearts willing to tune into the same rhythm. Even if they're playing different melodies, what truly matters is emotional honesty, not pretending to want the same things, but daring to ask difficult questions. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? What does a fulfilling life look like for you? It's not about sacrificing your dreams. It's about seeing whether your dreams can walk alongside each other. Difference doesn't mean doom, it means opportunity to grow, to expand, and to love without conditions. You don't have to want the exact same future. You just have to want a future together. So if the paths look different, ask yourself, are we willing to walk slower, adjust our pace, and choose each other again and again? Because sometimes, love isn't about finding someone who walks the same path, but someone who's willing to walk beside you, even if the road winds in unexpected ways. Generational gap or growth opportunity. Every generation speaks its own emotional language. Some grew up with cassette tapes and handwritten letters. Others were raised in the era of TikTok, emojis, and AI-powered conversations. So yes, Differences exist, and sometimes they clash. One prefers long, heart-to-heart phone calls. The other is more comfortable with quick texts and voice notes. One saves every penny for security. The other invests in experiences, memories, and moments. But here's the truth. These gaps only hurt when we refuse to bridge them. Younger hearts can teach older souls how to love with more freedom, less fear, and fewer outdated rules. Older hearts can show the younger ones that love is not just about sparks, but about showing up again and again. A generational gap doesn't have to be a wall. If you're willing, it becomes a doorway, a passage into a new world you never knew you needed. It invites humility. It asks, "Can I learn how you love?" It whispers, "I may not fully understand, but I'm willing to try." That moment, where curiosity replaces judgment, is where true connection begins. Because love doesn't require sameness. It requires mutual growth. So when you find yourself in love with someone from a different time, ask not, "Are we too different?" Ask instead, "Are we willing to listen, learn, and evolve together?" The unseen power dynamics in love. Power in a relationship doesn't always look like raised voices or obvious control. Sometimes, it hides in gestures that seem caring, but carry unspoken expectations. The older partner might always pay. They decide where to eat, what to do, even how to navigate disagreements. The younger partner may begin to wonder, "Do I really have a say? Am I an equal here, or just someone being guided?" And quietly, a gap begins to grow. At first, it may feel like protection, but when protection is not balanced with respect, it turns into subtle control. The giver may start expecting silent loyalty. The receiver begins to feel smaller and smaller inside the very love that was meant to lift them up. Light bulb, here's the truth. Love isn't a charity. It's an exchange of presence, of dignity, of mutual choice. Power imbalance is not always intentional, but left unspoken, it silently erodes connection. When one always decides, when one always knows better, when one must constantly shrink to keep the peace, it stops being love. It becomes a performance, a hierarchy, a quiet prison. True love is when two people own themselves first and choose each other freely. Where age, money, experience don't define the worth of one voice over the other. Where being young doesn't mean being silenced, and being older doesn't mean always being right. Because real love doesn't ask you to follow. It invites you to walk side by side as equals, through uncertainty, through growth, through grace. Children, health, and the ticking clock. We often speak of love as if it floats above reality, pure, timeless, untouched. But real love walks on solid ground, and on that ground live the often ignored realities: fertility, health, aging, caregiving. When there's an age gap in a relationship, those realities arrive faster and hit harder. One partner may still dream of a child's laughter in the hallway. The other may have quietly closed that chapter. One might be rising in career and vitality, while the other begins to slow down, needing rest and care. And this is where love meets honest dialogue. Not avoidance, not fantasy, but questions like, do you still want children? Am I ready to support you when your body needs more care? Can we truly walk together when our timelines no longer match? These aren't easy conversations, but silence isn't kindness, it's delay. And if a foundation is built on dreams that were never spoken aloud, it will crack when pressure comes. Love begins in emotion, but to last, it must be built on shared values, aligned choices, and the courage to speak truths we'd rather leave unsaid. Because real love isn't just about holding hands today. It's about holding hands 30 years from now, when those hands are frail, when the world has changed, and when the dream of children has passed. But your bond remains unshaken. The outside voices, they will whisper and judge you behind closed doors. They'll say she's only in it for the lifestyle or that he's just obsessed with youth, incapable of real love. But what's even more painful is that sometimes these comments don't come from strangers, they come from friends, family, the people you thought knew your heart best. Those seemingly small remarks carry the power to stir up doubts you already carry inside. The truth is, society is uncomfortable with things that defy its expectations. A relationship that doesn't follow the conventional logic of age confuses people. They don't know whether to cheer for it or criticize it. That's why you may find yourself constantly explaining why you love this person. Why the age difference doesn't make you afraid. Why this isn't a phase or a fantasy or a manipulation. And yet, at some point, you'll come to realize this difficult truth. The more you explain, the less they truly understand, because those who aren't willing to listen will never see clearly, no matter how well you speak. Real love doesn't need validation, it doesn't need approval or applause. When two people genuinely see each other, respect each other, and walk through life's storms hand in hand, what they need most is not the world's agreement, it's each other. Just one glance that says, "I see you." One steady hand that says, "I'm here," and a peaceful heart that says, "This is enough." Growing old together, or growing apart. Aging is inevitable, but growing together or growing apart, that is a choice. In youth, love burns bright, loud, fast, but as the years unfold, love no longer rushes, it slows, softens, deepens, like a quiet stream weaving through the forest. One day, one of you will tire more easily. Perhaps they can no longer climb mountains or chase dreams as they once did, while the other may still feel the fire to move, explore, and create. In that space of difference, love is no longer defined by shared speed, but by mutual presence. Are you afraid? Maybe. Change always stirs discomfort, but with compassion and clear-eyed awareness, aging together becomes not the end, but a new form of intimacy. A chapter where you learn to love not for what someone gives you, but for who they are. Simply being beside you. Growing old together means brewing tea slowly, speaking less, and understanding more. It means listening not just with ears, but with your whole presence. It means loving not through grand gestures, but through quiet acceptance. And maybe, just maybe, that is the deepest kind of love, the one that no longer needs to prove anything. Because its truth lives in the silence between two steady hearts. Love doesn't follow a template. Real love doesn't care about dates on a calendar, birth certificates, or the expectations imposed by society. It doesn't live inside a spreadsheet calculating who's compatible with whom. Love is a living force. It flows toward open hearts. Regardless of age, background, or life stage, there are couples with a 20-year age gap who speak to each other like old souls reunited. The older one doesn't parent, and the younger doesn't play child. They meet at a middle ground, shared understanding, mutual respect, and a desire to grow together. You might see them walking side by side, not with extravagant gestures, but with a gaze that warms, a voice that soothes, and a presence that's deeply real. Meanwhile, two people the same age might spend their days caught in ego-driven battles, each trying to prove, outdo, or fix the other. Because maturity doesn't arrive with the passing of years, it comes with empathy, with deep listening, with the quiet surrender of illusions. Love doesn't need to fit the mold that society deems ideal. It only needs to fit the truth of the hearts involved. They don't love each other to complete one another, but because they've learned how to walk side by side without forcing change, but evolving in freedom. Some relationships challenge everything we've believed about love, and in that rupture, they reveal the truth. That authentic connection was never meant to follow a formula. It's the meeting of two souls traveling in the same direction, even if their timelines are written in different ink. So, does age really matter? The answer is yes, but not in the way most people think. Age shouldn't be a barrier to love, but it also shouldn't be ignored. It influences health, life rhythms, long-term goals, and the pace at which we move through the world. Someone building their career may not align in timing with someone ready to embrace a quieter chapter. These are real differences, but what remains timeless is presence that's sincere, listening that's free of judgment, respect that doesn't require proving, and soul-level resonance that asks for no translation. Age may play a role in the script of a relationship, but it should never take the lead role. Some love stories fall apart not because of a number, but because they cannot walk in harmony on deeper paths. And yet, others thrive against all odds, not because they defy time, but because they share the same breath, the same stillness, the same willingness to grow through, not despite, one another. In every story, it's not the number that leads, it's the quality of the connection. True love is the director of this journey, and when it is truly present, it rewrites the narrative in a language far more enduring than years. The timeline of the heart. In the end, the real question isn't who's older or younger. The real question is, can you be fully yourself when you're with them? True love doesn't confine us within numbers. It opens a space where we are accepted, allowed to grow, and free to just be. If someone makes your heart soften, makes your inner voice feel heard, and allows you to live honestly, then that's not an age gap relationship. That's a timeless bond, and if that relationship helps you grow, love yourself more, and see the world with deeper clarity, then cherish it, regardless of the world's judgments. Because the timeline of the heart isn't measured in years, but in sincerity. Not everyone your age will walk beside you to the end. And not everyone with a different age will take something away from you. What truly defines love is presence, listening, and emotional resonance. These are the languages love truly speaks. Have you ever loved someone much older or younger than you? What did that relationship teach you? Share your story in the comments. It might become a light for someone else who's struggling to trust love. If this video spoke to something deep within you, please like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. At Shining Mirror-LVB, we don't tell stories just to entertain, but to awaken, connect, and heal. See you in the next video, where we continue walking home to our truest selves. With gratitude, courage, and a heart wide open.